Good morning, everyone. Welcome. My name is Menachem Creditor. It's my honor to serve as scholar in residence and rabbi for UJA Federation of New York. We bring you Torah and music, blessing, and community every weekday. We've been doing so since March 18th, 2020. Today it is Thursday, February 26, 2026. Almost 6 years of Torah almost every single weekday morning. A chance to meet good friends like Michelle and Holly, Jacqueline and Betsy, Tara and John, and Lydia and Carl. Good morning, friends. It's good to see all of you. I hope that you and yours are safe and well. Let's see who's here so we can say a few good mornings. Then we'll sing a bracha, learn some Torah. Debbie and Jerry, it's good to see you. Neil, hi, my friend. Good to see you too. Boker Tov, Ali. Hi, Kate. Barry and Jack, Cynthia, good to see you too. Say a few more hellos, and then we'll jump right in. See if anybody else is going to jump in time. Judy and Rosa, Natalie and Arlene. Hi, George. It's good to see you too. Okay. Let's take a breath, sing a bracha. We'll learn some Torah. Here we go. Today I lie. Today I lie. Ay, la, la. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Kiddushanu B'mitzvotav V'tzivanu La'asok B'divrei Torah La'asok b'divrei Torah Hafoch ba v'hafoch ba La'asok b'divrei Torah Today I lie. Today I lie. Today I lie. Ay, lie. Good morning, friends. It's good to see all of you. Hi, Ariel. Nice to see you, my love. This is going to focus, our morning's discussion is going to focus on Shabbat Zachor, which is one of the special names for this coming Shabbat. Now, Shabbat Zachor literally translates as Shabbat Remember, and it's named for a paragraph in the Torah, a few verses, from the book of Shemot, from the book of Exodus, that tell of the time that just after crossing through the Red Sea, after Kriyat Yam Suf, we were attacked, ambushed by Amalek. Amalek is a tribe that has a very complicated history, and according to tradition, is the ancestor of Haman, the villain from the Purim story. And so the Shabbat before Purim, we read these verses which tell us, Zachor et asher asa lecha Amalek. Remember what Amalek did to you when you were on the way, and what makes what Amalek did so terrible that not only we read it and are called to remember it, but the verses also call us to erase the memory of Amalek from under the heavens. And that's a complicated thing to remember and erase. There's an irony here. Rachel Goldberg-Poland points out in this year's teaching that she offered on Dan Sinor's podcast, that there's an irony here that because we are called to erase the memory of Haman, we definitely remember the name of Haman even more sharply. It's a very strange contradiction. But here we are, called to remember what Amalek did to us, which was ambushing us in our most vulnerable places, those who walk behind, those who might take a little bit more time. In the Torah, that includes children and others. And in our world, especially given that this is Jewish Disability Awareness and Inclusion Month, we are called to remember that the hallmark of a sacred community, if we truly mean what we say, is that we measure our goodness by how we treat the most vulnerable among us. So here we are, challenged yet again to remember Amalek, but to remember also what Amalek stands for. We are called to remember that there is such a thing as Amalek, not just an attitude, but people who mean ill. And in fact, there's a beautiful reflection on this in the book The Jewish Way by Rabbi Yitz Greenberg. If you're looking to add a book to your Jewish library, I would recommend The Jewish Way. It is the best book on the Jewish holidays that I've ever seen. And Yitz teaches some very, very profound messages about this Shabbat, the Shabbat that we call Zachor. It's a very special mitzvah to hear this, and so you can make an extra effort, be in shul this Shabbat, and stand with community in commitment to memory. And why is this so important? Why is it so important? I'm just going to read a little bit of what Rabbi Greenberg wrote. First of all, he says, Zachor, remembrance, is a mitzvah that has made modern Jews uncomfortable. The natural desire to forget and be happy collides with the ongoing pain of memory and analysis. Wouldn't it be great if we could just say, the past is in the past? We don't need to keep on reliving our traumas. Now, the book, The Jewish Way, came out many years ago, but he could have been speaking to us today just less than 3 years after October 7th. And it is a complicated thing to see our desire to put the past in the past. I remember reading an article years ago in a journal about Jewish education, where the question was, how much Holocaust education is too much Holocaust education? And possibly that question was being asked because the majority or a significant amount of time of Jewish education is taken up in some circles with Holocaust education, which unfortunately gives too little space for the texture of positive and affirmative, proactive Jewish living to recapture what Deborah Lipstadt has called the joy, not just the oi. It's a very, very understandable inclination to put the past in the past. And listen to how Rabbi Greenberg points to a modern inclination to let the past go. He says, modern people who are future-oriented stress the need to forgive. They argue that there will be no reconciliation as long as the memories of the cruelties and atrocities of the past are preserved and thrown in the face of those involved. Forget and forgive becomes the slogan. The argument can even take the form, he says, of an attack on the victims for keeping the memory alive. And what a fascinating insight, Rabbi Greenberg points out. We are called, traditionally, according to our sacred understanding of self, we call that mitzvah, to remember. In fact, some have said that the 614th mitzvah is to never forget. But what is the primary lesson of this Shabbat, Shabbat Zachor? It is that true reconciliation doesn't happen by forgetting and forgiving. It happens through repentance and remembrance. And I would add to this, vigilance. Because there is such a thing as Amalek in the world. There are those who have cruelty in their hearts. Not only is it an attitude within ourselves, a callousness, a disregard for the other, when we fail in our commitment to recognize and elevate and respect those who are most vulnerable. But there's also such a thing as an enemy. And Rabbi Greenberg says in the most blunt of ways, naivete and amnesia always favor the aggressors, the Amalekites in particular. The Amalekites wanted to wipe out an entire people, memory and all. Rabbi Greenberg adds to this, amnesia completes that undone job. The mitzvah of Zachor is a stern reminder that Amalek lives and must be fought. He says not every evil is Amalek. We have to be careful before we conflate all evils into one thing. But we have this Shabbat that calls us Zachor al Tishkach. John asks a good question here. Is not forgetting the same as remembering? Maybe. Maybe it's just playing with words. But maybe there is a difference. Not forgetting is a commitment to being true to our lived experience and testimony that we've received. As the great Elie Wiesel taught us, to be witness to a witness makes one a witness. Not forgetting is a very specific kind of commitment. Remembering maybe is a little bit different. I can't actually suggest the difference, except that I know the Torah tells us to do each. So there must be something unique about remembering, not just not forgetting. Perhaps not forgetting is a commitment we make to those who went through it, including our past selves. Maybe remembering is what we do when we tell the story for the sake of the future. Maybe what we're called to do on this Shabbat Zachor is expose ourselves to the ragged past and protect our children from the naivete and amnesia and the desire to forget and forgive, which is all too understandable. As Caroline writes, remembering implies more intention. So let us make this commitment, this Shabbat, Shabbat Zachor, to both not forget, which is a way of honoring those who went through hardship, those who have made it their life's commitment to bear testimony. And let us also remember, which is internalizing the commitment to telling the story for the sake of a safer future. Rabbi Greenberg writes at the very end, this teaches us the teaching of vulnerability. This reminds us that vulnerability is a human condition, and we, specifically within the Jewish community, we have to remember not only our vulnerability, but that awareness of vulnerability protects us and those to come. May we remember faithfully. May we not forget loyally. Let's send our hearts to the east, friends. Let's sing. Kolon balevav penima nefesh Yehudi homiya ulefatei mizrach kadima ayin letzion tzofia od lo avda tikvateinu hatikva bat shnot alpayim להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון וירושלים. להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון וירושלים. Am Yisrael Chai. See you tomorrow, friends.